Buenos días a todos los congresistas presentes y los que nos siguen a través de las redes. Como uno de nuestros ponentes es griego, voy a cambiar un poco mi speech y voy a empezar hablando de Platón, que dijo, Platón, entre los siglos V y IV antes de nuestra era, dijo en la ciudad de Platón, escribió un libro que se llamaba precisamente La ciudad ideal o Calípolis. Llegó a decir que la ciudad ideal es aquella que construirían los dioses para que viviéramos los humanos. Foster, algo más tarde, dijo en un encuentro, en un debate que se hizo público para ciudades saludables organizado entre Sanitas y la Norman Foster Foundation, dijo que la ciudad ideal tendría que ser aquella que elegiríamos para pasar las vacaciones, aquella ciudad que reuniese todas estas características donde nos sentiríamos felices. El español en general siente apego por la ciudad donde nació y donde creció, y es muy difícil muchas veces sacarle de este lugar para envejecer. Pero también es cierto que conozco a muy pocas personas que se encuentren mal después de vacaciones. Más bien tienen ganas de pasar gran parte del año pensando dónde pasarán sus próximas vacaciones. Las ciudades, hay dos desafíos. Uno es mejorar las ciudades, muy difícil porque reúnen una serie de condiciones que están en las antípodas de lo que sería deseable. Y por otra parte, crear pequeñas ciudades para ser ciudades amigables está incipiente. Se habla mucho de dónde vamos a vivir, hay pequeñas iniciativas de pequeñas comunidades que se organizan con la dificultad que supone organizarse, personas que no se conocen, que no saben si quieren tener mascotas o no tener mascotas, pero hay iniciativas que de alguna manera, pues Elisa Pozo nos presentará ideas que han demostrado que tienen éxito para este periodo de nuestras vidas que yo llamo primavera de la madurez, y ese periodo que todos necesitamos, que esta parte de la vida que todos necesitamos, muchos más cuidados de los que hemos tenido hasta ahora. Quisiera transmitir a los congresistas que representan empresas de salud, tecnológicas, de alimentación, de ocio, la posibilidad de que participen en estos proyectos que se están desarrollando de pequeñas ciudades y que se hagan suya esta forma de vivir de las ciudades donde viven los habitantes más felices del mundo, teniendo en cuenta la cantidad de posibilidades que tenemos tanto climatológicas, alimentarias como culturales para hacer felices a cualquier ciudadano que quiera pasar los 20, 30, 40 mejores años de su vida. No olvidemos que la genética solamente toma parte un 20 o un 30% de nuestra salud. El resto depende de nosotros. Son hábitos saludables. Hay que desarrollar soluciones novedosas. Yo pongo siempre ejemplo de prevención. Yo creo que si la prevención la cuidáramos más, la dependencia se alejaría mucho más o sería concretamente inexistente. Fíjense en los taxistas lo que hacen en prevención con unos automóviles igual que los que tenemos nosotros, y ellos llegan a hacer 500, 600, 700.000 kilómetros con unos automóviles que nosotros difícilmente llegamos a los 200.000. Yo quisiera leeros unos titulares de los medios que dicen: el sector senior living, uno de los segmentos con mayor proyección de crecimiento en España en los próximos años. Otro, la longevidad, una nueva vida para las empresas por el elevado poder adquisitivo de los seniors. Analicemos lo que existe fuera. Pequeñas ciudades con un intercambio intergeneracional, siempre se ha hablado y se va a hablar que es importante el intercambio generacional, donde los usuarios se integren perfectamente, esos usuarios que no tienen tanta facilidad para interrelacionarse o comunicarse y hacerles la vida más fácil en todos los aspectos, donde puedan incluso intercambiar unos apartamentos con el home swapping, que puedan e intercambiarlo con otros habitantes que sean felices en cualquier parte del mundo. Ahora escucharemos a continuación a la moderadora, Elisa Pozo, cuya misión es contribuir a que las personas mayores vivamos en entornos más saludables con un enfoque inclusivo. Elisa Pozo es doctora arquitecta por la Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, máster en ciudades sostenibles, máster en medio ambiente y arquitectura bioclimática, coautora de la guía para planificar ciudades saludables, investigadora de Matia, Instituto, y arquitecta y socia fundadora de Mita, Atelier. Elisa, en su intervención, nos presentará a los ponentes de este interesante módulo 1 y yo aprovecho para agradecerles su atención y desearles un eficaz congreso. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Germán, por la presentación. And, well, good morning. This module is in English, so it's easy for us also to continue our conversation. It's a pleasure to be here and starting also the module of the Congress with this panel. And first of all, let me introduce our speakers. First, Jean Godard is experienced and dedicated healthcare executive with a strong background in elderly care, specializing in dementia support. Currently, he is serving as director of 2 residential care centers under the model of small-scale normalized living and overseeing human resource policy across 5 different centers within the third Kortrijk group, part of the city of Kortrijk in the Flemish region of Belgium. He is known also for his strategic leadership, compassionate care philosophy, and also deep expertise in dementia care. Welcome, Jan. Secondly, Marcelo Galetti is a social worker. He works since 1995 in social services after different experiences, and he's been working on Diaconia Valdese in Italy since 1997. And he's been working 24 years in a nursing home specialized in dementia, with different tasks, including the role of director for 16 years. In the last 4 years, he has been working in a small service in Diaconia Valdese, looking after projects in the Pinerolese territory about dementia, Parkinson, and older people. Benvenuto, Marcelo. And last but not least, Eleni Hatzidimitriadou is a professor of community psychology of public mental health in Canterbury Christ Church University in the UK. She's a clinical and community psychologist and has held a number of appointments in Greece and the UK in mental health practice and academia. She has published and led research and co-production service user involvement in mental health care, welfare and social care in old age, and access of migrants and the ethnic minorities to healthcare systems. She has a strong record on international research collaborations and networks in the field of community psychology and public health. Carlos Ilzate, Eleni.
Thank you.
So this module is titled Beyond Social and Healthcare, an integrated approach to sustainability. When we talk about sustainability, this is not only about the CO2 emissions, but also the economy, the social, and of course, environmental. But this has different scales and also approximations, from the small scale convivial unit in a nursing home, but also to a strategic perspective for a territory or a city, also the rural areas. And we talk about the community, the economic resources, and moreover, people living in that context. How can we do things differently to improve care and quality of life? And what learnings can we share that provide evidence and good practices that inspire this systemic change? Our 3 guests will present similar but different projects in different but also similar contexts. Jan from Flanders, Belgium, Marcelo from Italy, and Eleni from United Kingdom will present in this first round their projects. So Jan, we start with you. Danke you. Well.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Elisa for inviting me. I'm very honored and proud to be here. Also to spread the message, because my story will be about small-scale normalized living, is the way how you organize care for people with dementia. I will do a little story, then I will show a movie. It's an 8-minute movie about the nursing home WZC de Zon. And there you will see the things I tell about the way we work, but also the way architecture has an influence on the well-being of persons with dementia. And then I will highlight some topics like architecture, technology, but also innovation and transformation in an organization. So, I don't know. Okay. I will first introduce my organization. It's Zorg Kortrijk. Kortrijk is a city in Flanders near the French border. And we have approximately 78,000 inhabitants. Under the municipality of Kortrijk, we have several departments like sports, you have welfare, etc. But also we have a department care. Zorg means in Dutch is care. And under this umbrella we have home care services, we have childcare, we have assisted living apartments, we have 5 residential care centers for elderly, of which I'm responsible for concerning staff. So we house 496 residents in total. We also have a daycare center, and there you can see the 5 nursing homes. And I'm running 2 nursing homes, WZC de Zon and de Weester, small-scale normalized living. And in Flanders, this approach is still unique. It's not innovative anymore because the first projects date from 1984, so that's a long time ago. But we still see that there is a long way to go if you want to change care. Okay, this is the movie, but first I will tell a little bit my story. And we go 40 years back in time. So then I was 16 years old, and that was the first time that you start to think, yeah, well, what will I do as a profession? So I was a rather hyperkinetic guy, so I was thinking to go in sports or become a physiotherapist. But at that period, I was not studying well, so I choose for nursing. And why did I choose for nursing? Because at 16 years old, we went to a nursing home with our teacher, who was a priest, and we visited a unit of people with dementia, and was quite impressed and make a really serious impression on me. And so that drove me into the direction of studying nursing. So I studied nursing. I did also my master degree, but with focus on dementia. I was 23 years old. It was 1993 that I made my thesis, and it was on the effects of relaxing music on people with dementia. But mostly the research I did was on what are the influences of noise on people with dementia. And we focused on agitation, aggression. And that was the first time that I realized the impact of the environment on the well-being of people with dementia. So then I was lucky. I did my thesis in a nursing home, and that also made a big impression on me because the way they approached people with dementia was with a lot of respect. And so that was also a reason why I wanted to make my career or work with people with dementia. So I started in 1997, so that's more than 20 years, 28 years ago. I started as a head nurse on a unit, and that was a unit for people with dementia, and the unit had 30 people, and it was also in this nursing home, the units were divided in, you had a unit with people with dementia who were in the beginning of the dementia, then we had a unit moderate, and then we had a unit where they were in a severe stadium. I was responsible for the unit in a severe stadium. And now the story begins. It was classical organized, but we had at that moment a strong vision, and we used Martha Rogers, for those who studied, I see someone saying, yes, Martha Rogers, known for those who study nursing, has a way of looking to people, and it's a vision on human beings, on mankind. And Martha Rogers, she was our reference also for how we need to organize care for people with dementia. And what was she saying? She said every person, every human being is unique. She also said every human being has free choice. Every human being is a physical being, so we need to pay attention on how they look. Every human being is a social being, has needs of social contact. Every person is a historical being, and every person is also a spiritual being. And by spiritual, I do not mean religious, but spiritual means what drives you to get up and to live further. For people with dementia, this could be the visit of a child, of children. This could be a passion, a hobby. It can be a religion, but it's more than that. So, and that was our reference to work on. But I immediately felt that if you work in a classical way, and like how nursing homes are organized, then it's very difficult to be unique in a nursing home, to have free choice, to meet other people, to respect the history of the person, and to fulfill spiritual needs. So then we went searching for how can we create an environment where we have respect for all these kinds of needs. So, and that led us in 1999, so it was like the song of Prince, 1999, led us to small-scale normalized living. And by small-scale normalized living, what do I mean? These are, we call it houses, units of residents who live together, between 6 and 16 residents living together. And we started, we changed our unit from 30 to 2 times 15. And we experimented through trial and error with a lot of common sense, when that is something that sometimes is lacking in the medical world, and also with guts and support. Support of our organization for letting us do what we have done. And also important, all the innovative theory came later. So we started from the heart. So we started creating small units, and the theory of small-scale normalized living, you have, unit needs to be small, but we also have some principles, and now I will only highlight 2 principles. Namely, what is very important in this vision is the inclusion and participation of people with dementia. Inclusion in the local society, how can the nursing home be part of the local society, but also vice versa, how can the local community be part of the nursing home. And the other, and participation means also that people with dementia have a voice. So that's also very important. How do you give people with dementia a voice in a nursing home? And then the other principle that also is very important, and which I highlight, is how we as caregivers act with people with dementia. And now it's a term we now have invented. It's not me that has it invented, but a colleague. And we call it holding environment. People with dementia, it's a balance between finding autonomy, but on the other hand, also we need to create security. So it's like we put our arms around people with dementia, and in the beginning it's more like this, but the more the people need support, the arms come like this. So it's, and we call it, it's a balance between autonomy and security. So that's what we call holding environment. So small-scale normalized living, we talked about small-scale, what does it mean? We talked also a little bit about the principles. But the most important thing in this title, small-scale normalized living, is normalized. How can we make life in a nursing home as normal as possible? Life as it is at home. So, and that's a big challenge. And now there's a theory, I say the theories come always later. Now there's a theory created by the University of Antwerp, and saying it's called sense of home. What are the ingredients that residents with dementia feel at home in a nursing home? First thing is the autonomy of the room where they sleep. So the sleeping room, if they can create their own room with own furniture, with drawings or whatever, so that they can make their own room, is an important criterion. Secondly, is where they meet people. So that's what we call a living room, where you meet people, and if you connect with people who are there, we call that lifestyle differentiation. We bring people together that connect, not because of the illness. I always give when I do presentations, I'm a sporter. I would never, I would hate it to sit next to someone who has been a bank account or worked in bank or an engineer and talk about this kind of stuff. It would not work. So we have to connect. And so in a nursing home, life has to be as normal as possible. So these are the criteria. How do we make life as normal as possible? We make it small-scaled, and we have respect for the autonomy and security of the resident, and also the inclusion in the local community. I have a saying, always, or you have the saying, always lead to Rome. If we think about residential care, then I say, always lead to small-scaled normalized living. If we talk about vision, how we need to approach people, person-centered care, I rather prefer to name it relation-oriented care. Then the way to reach that is better in a small-scaled environment. If we talk about how to organize work and to make it efficient, then we see also that small-scale normalized living is the way to go. If we talk about architecture, how can architecture makes the life of a person with dementia better, it's through small-scale normalized living. If we talk about technology, also, and 2019, we had COVID, 2020, 2019, we had COVID, and we also saw that and we also did a study on it, that in nursing homes where they worked according to the principles of small-scale normalized living, that the outbreaks of COVID were released. That people, even in times of COVID, could meet each other because of cohorting. We had cohorts of 16 residents. So if there was an outbreak, it was only for 16. So even in terms of safety, this method or this way of working, according to me, is the way to go. So that was, yes, and now I will show the movie, okay? How do we do that? How do we do that? Okay. Yeah. Oh. Play again. Green. Okay. So here you see the nursing home, the Zon. So if you go into the nursing home, that's like a classical nursing home, and now we're entering a unit, we call it the living room, and there is where people come together and eat together, live together. We cook also together. So what in most nursing homes, in all the nursing homes in Flanders, the cooking is in a central kitchen. We do it together with the residents. And the reason is that according to the innovative work organization, it's important to change secondary processes, like for example, a central kitchen, make it a primary process. So people are involved, for example, in a classical nursing home. If you ask for a resident, on Friday I prefer fish, yeah, it has to go to the head nurse, from the head nurse to the person who is responsible for the kitchen, then to the cook, and after a week perhaps you have your fish. So in this way it's really on the spot that we take decisions, that we communicate with people and act on the spot. So as you can see, daily life is also integrated in, so we don't have a physiotherapist, a room for physiotherapists apart, it's integrated in daily life. So all things we do are integrated in daily life. Also like, I don't know if you know the term or the word snoezelen, it's how you stimulate the senses. Also that's integrated in daily life. Here about technology, here you see the Greet Air. That was something we introduced in times of COVID to communicate with the outside world, and it was made it was made dementia friendly because the video chat we had also proposed by a lot of manufacturers or companies did not fulfill the needs of a person with dementia, because if you want to video chat, you always have to push a button to activate. So this one was developed by the grandson of one of the residents in the nursing home and fulfilled the needs of a person with dementia. Here is some, yeah, this is daily life. How women
life as it is.
Life as it is. So also important, if you build a new nursing home, architects can make plans and then propositions. So there were 5 propositions. We chose this one, and that was also the reason we chose this nursing home, or how it was built, was because of the square. So it was how we use public space to facilitate to facilitate interaction with the neighborhood. Next to the nursing home, we, on this side, on one side we have social housing, on the other side we have the nursing home. This is social housing. We also have a local service center on the other side, but we also have a school, primary school. So we could have the interaction between young and old. This is how a bathroom looks like, nothing special, but perhaps it's also interesting. I think it's very important when you design a nursing home. One of the things, the design needs to be, we also go on holidays, so the person is needs to reflect the core values of your organization. And in our organization, we have 4 core values that we defined with people with dementia, with their families, and the staff. And these are trust, finding trust to each other, autonomy, that refers also to Martha Rogers, respect, and equality. And that's a very important one, equality. And what do we mean by this? And that was a value that was chosen by the residents themselves. They want to be treated on an equally way like staff. We're on the same level. A lot of organizations are supply-driven, and they decide what happens in the nursing home. Then we had this wave where it was demand-driven, and they say, the resident is king, the client is king. That's also not an equal relationship. Now we prefer to see the resident and the staff as equal. That means that everybody has their own responsibilities. That means that if we do this shared decision making, that there is also a responsibility with the resident, their family, and also we have a responsibility. But we don't care the complete responsibility. That's equality. So that's also daily.
You're running out of time.
I'm running. Okay. So we just look to the movie and then we stop. Okay.
I was going to propose that maybe after the movie we can give Marcelo and then we come back with the questions to continue with course experience.
Yes.
It's okay.
Okay.
But if you want to share something else.
But I think you have already you can imagine how life is in the nursing home. Okay.
Yes, something that I think it was also inspiring is how you work with the architects, that we will continue later on in the discussion, but how to involve the architects and also the city planning strategy to create this space in the surroundings. In the designing of a new concept of this nursing home that also from the outside is like a housing. It's not a different model and typology. And how you work also integrating best practices with dementia-friendly principles, and also what we were discussing before, that when you have a good building or a good design, maybe technology is not that needed for support of everyday life. But we will come with, for this later on. Marcelo, after the video stop, is your turn. You and Jan also know each other for a while. And I believe that your experience from Italy also can be very familiar to many places in a Spanish context. So the floor is yours. And we can pass some slides also to your part.
Finished.
Yes, finished. Yeah.
Ok. Bueno, lo primero que digo es en español y después voy a continuar en inglés. Y lo siento por eso, pero tengo miedo que me van a faltar demasiadas palabras, entonces voy a hablar en inglés. Pero quiero decirle gracias por esta invitación, es un honor, sin retórica es un honor. Thank you, Elisa, and all the team, and also thank you to Jan, my colleague and my friend, for giving them my name. So that means that if the presentation will not work, they know who's to blame. Okay, so I'm here to share an experience of cooperation among organizations that can be very useful and can help in a very long and apparently endless season of decreasing funding. So cooperation is very important in these times, also because I think that cuidar juntos es cuidar mejor. So the story begins from a crisis of a nursing home. That is, you see, we are in the more west part of the more western region of Italy. That is Piedmont. Is a territory of about 132 citizens and 47 municipalities. So at that time was the end of the 90s. That nursing home, that is one in which I've been working for 24 years, was passing through a moment of big crisis with a very bad reputation. And you know, the crisis meaning of the Greek word, it also means possibility to choose something new. That was the decision to go through the specialization of dementia. So all the story begins from that moment. So you can see in the first 14 years of the new century that a nursing home that you see there in the mountains at the end is the end of Italy, because behind is France. So you see we are very close. Develop a series of services inside and outside the walls. You can see them with a vision and a concept that still continues today, to build a kind of chain of services, and every service is a ring of that chain, so that all the services are unite. And some of the things that we have done are also a little bit strange or particular. You see, mi rifugio al cinema. Me refugio porque refugio es el nombre de ese hogar. The strange thing, a little bit crazy thing was that in our valley we lost the cinema. The last cinema of the valley closed in 2010. So we tell us, why can't we be, at least in summer, the cinema of this territory? So instead of doing the classical summer festival of cinema that usually is made in squares, the venue was the garden of the daycare center for people with dementia, and it worked. And it was also very useful to change the idea of the nursing homes. And through all the times, the doing was at the same road of thinking. I want to focus on some of the concept of time. It's our time, or it is their time. Their mean people with dementia. So who has to adapt to whom? Because the classical model is that the resident has to adapt to the organization. We have tried to go in the contrary way, trying to transform ourselves from clothing sellers. So it means that if you come here, you can have this, and service. That's all. You have to adapt. Into tailors. So we try to make the organization the one who has to adapt to the need of the person living in the nursing home. So flexibility in their relationship, but also in the organization. And when you work with dementia, you cannot forget the families. And also the concept of open ourselves to the territory. You see, the nursing home is the classical place from which you want to stay apart. It's on top of a hill, far away from the village. So also for that reason, we try to go exactly on on the contrary way, always looking for cooperation with public services since the beginning, and this is still continuing today. Then in 2014, we have been awarded in EFID network, and that's why we met, and since that moment we continue to cooperate. And that was a very important turning point for us in terms of legitimation to change. It was a paradox because through that European network we have been able to enter in Italian networks. We have got a lot of media visibility, etc., etc. And in that moment we began to listen to concepts like dementia-friendly communities, for instance. So this is a network that we have created with public services, social public services, and NHS, and association that is called Rete Demenze del Pinolese. Red Dementia del Pinolese es el nombre del territorio. And many of the things that we have done because we are together since then and still today. We used the money of that award to develop the first little dementia-friendly community project through two main roads. The first one is to organize a meeting with stakeholders of the territory in which we give them training and information, and we do those meetings including people with dementia and or family. The other big road of doing this project is to organize public events to talk about dementia, because it is necessary to talk about dementia. Then in 2016 we have done a common project, so exactly the same project that has been developed at the same time in the two different territories, and then each group went to visit the other one to check how it works. So we have included all those categories of stakeholders that you see them. So since that moment, that has become our method to continue, and still continues today, to develop the dementia-friendly community projects. And now, few focus about the networking. Few example networking. In networking is very important the involvement of the local politicians. These ones that you see are the 9 mayors, the 9 alcaldes of the 9 villages of our valley. Every municipality is member of the local network, and after many years of work to raise awareness, we are now collecting the first fruits. For instance, since October has begun an Alzheimer Cafe in our valley, but the important thing is that the pushing was from them and not from us. That was very important. And then you can see the picture on the right side with that major, with the the Italian flag, is that in every municipality there is a notice board dedicated to dementia. Networking is also the involvement of local stakeholders. I will tell you shortly an history that is particular because it involves a Spanish old lady with dementia that you can see in the picture. The man close to her is a very locally famous chef. He did through our meeting of training and information, and then we decided to organize a public lunch to raise money, and the two of them, they cooked together. Because for quite a long time before that day, we have begun a cooperation with the señora Dora desde Valencia, a lady with a short memory, completely gone, but thanks to her, I don't know if se puede decir en español, la memoria cristalizada. Mm-hmm. Okay. She kept perfectly the sequence of the preparation of paella that much more than me, of course, that is not doing spaghetti with butter. Okay, it's much more complicated. And once a month, with the help of a social worker, that is the lady that you see on the right side, she prepared paella for people. So it is completely turning the concept, because in that case, a person with dementia becomes a resource for the local community, not only a person that is in charge of the services. Networking is also the involvement of the media, and the best thing is tell people's story. And the history of Dora is the perfect example. She has become a very popular person in our territory. Many people know her story, but it has been important. Yes, the story has been important, but most of all is that through the story you can tell the concept of involvement of the person. That is what really counts. Of course, it's going on since a lot of time, working for raise awareness, but also to change the cultural approach. Because you can have the best services, but if people are deeply convinced that care is their business, people will continue to enter, for instance, in nursing home in advance. Not because there is no alternatives, but because the family has broken. So it is necessary to try to change also the cultural approach. It is important to the use of the language, because the saying demented, that is for instance, used to insult a politician opponent, or saying people with dementia is not the same. Because in people with dementia, first there is a people and then there is the dementia. In demented, that is in insult in Italian, the person and the dementia become the same thing, and it cannot be. Another thing that we are doing is building a local network of Alzheimer Cafe. The goal is to reach 5, the number of 5, so we can maybe become a reality close to the Dutch reality, in which no citizen lives more than 25 kilometers from an Alzheimer Cafe. There is one missing that we are already planning to open it the next year, so we are quite close to reach the goal. Another very important thing is get the people to know the services that there are in the territory, that they are never enough, but if the people do not even know, when the diagnosis arrives, the ignorance of the services that are on the territory is another stone in the backpack of the family. But we have done this not through many words, but through it's a cartoon. You see, the person is in the center. There you see many little words and a telephone number, and that's all, because it has to be immediate to be used. Then, from all the thoughts of that working group, Parete de Mezza del Pinarese, we have developed maybe the only thing that I'm telling you today that we invented, because all the rest we copy from someone else, especially from people of that network. This one is Integralmente, is a service that is looking after people living at home, but it's not a daycare service. It's something different, with many different activity, with a very attention also to the needs of the relatives, and not only of the person with the dementia. And it works. You can see some numbers here, but it is important, of course, to tell numbers, to explain project, but also stories of person, or things that you collect from them. So it's a project that is made a quite good work of interception of many hidden situations, because dementia is as diffused, as lived very often inside the walls of the houses. We have become a point of reference. No matter how frequently we visit them, and it is not a project that go and works into the house. Of course, you go into the house of the person, but to bring them in the word, in the word of everybody, etc. This is a good example of cooperation among organizations that are so we go close to the prevention concept, memory evaluation days. So our organization is looking after all the logistics aspects, the advertising, the booking of the citizens. The NHS gives the neuropsychologists, and the social services are there with the social assistants to give information of the services of the territory during those days, in which up to last year people came to do some tests, no diagnosis. Maybe they were sent if they want to go into deep, or simply to say, okay, there is nothing. From this year, we begin to go through prevention with two main directions. First are the so-called memory gyms, Palestra de la Memoria, that are groups led by volunteers, but volunteers that are trained before and supported through the project for usually once a month. The same neuropsychologists who did the train meet the group of the volunteers to help them to do the work. Is spreading a lot this kind of project, because it is important, of course, the cognitive stimulation, but is even maybe more important that we do the thing together. And this is pure prevention for people without diagnosis. Okay. The other thing is that we began to work. I don't know if you know this. There is an article on Lancet about this. That the 14 modified risk for dementia. So now the evaluation days are focused on this through an interview of each person, and then there is a dialogue with the neuropsychologists based on the answer that people gave to that questionario. ¿Se dice? Okay. Esto voy a decirlo en español, intencionalmente, y lo que voy a decirle es: trae este documentario a España. Ese es un documentario holandés. Yo creo que la cosa mejor que he visto a nivel artístico. He olvidado de decir que hemos utilizado el arte muchas veces durante nuestra historia para sensibilizar sobre demencia, porque es más ligero, no pesado. Esta es la cosa mejor. Es la historia de un nurse, enfermero, joven enfermero, que intencionalmente decide de ir a vivir en una unidad de una casa de reposo por gente con demencia. Se alterna la historia de ese chico que va a vivir en diferentes nursing homes, especialmente en España y en Bélgica, y alternado su visita en 11 países, en 4 continentes, para ver cómo ese país trabaja con la demencia. Es un manifiesto de política social y sanitaria. Ahí pueden ver el correo electrónico del director. Yo lo tengo, Elisa lo tiene. Por favor, tráelo a España. Gracias. because
Grazie mille, Marcelo. I would like also to highlight from your presentation that to make things different, you have to do things different. And this is what's innovation about, not only in an organization, but also in the community. And sometimes we think that some institutions or organizations are more structured and with high hierarchy, but it's about doing things differently to start changing how we see each other and how we see the normalized living that Jan was mentioned before. Now, Eleni, you have also participated in an innovation project connected also with the same principles. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming today to this session. I want to give my warm thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me. It's a great honor to be with you. Least of all because Spanish colleagues, are very close to my heart. I think in the audience is probably a lot of what I would see as students and colleagues in the UK and in Greece. So it's fantastic to see all of you. I want to thank Elisa specifically because, she looked after us very, very well, so far, and it's been an honor to work with Jan and Marcelo in this session. So I'm Eleni Hatzidimitriadou. I'm coming from the UK, but in fact, I'm a Greek clinical and community psychologist, and I work in Greece as well. And a lot of the things that Jan and Marcelo were talking about are very close to our hearts, both in the Northern Europe, but also the Southern Europe, because we know that the challenges are there. And when I was involved in the Cascade project, I was involved in many EU projects in my career, but that one was very pertinent because we know how important it is to address the challenge, the big challenge we're all facing with older population rising. And especially in Europe, we do have to look after this population, and gradually we're all becoming the older population, and we need to find good and sustainable ways of supporting them. So the Cascade project, let me see, because technology is not working mostly. So this is how we began, because the Cascade project started with a group of people from the UK, Belgium, and France, and Netherlands. And we were all trying to answer the very key questions that you heard from Jan and Marcelo in terms of how do we do this. In the morning, colleagues talked about the big challenges ahead of us. At that point in the UK, we had a significant challenge because I'm sure this is happening in Spain and elsewhere. The hospital beds and the fact that a lot of people with dementia will end up in hospital beds, a big challenge in the UK. How do we make sure that this increasing population is actually managing to find good care outside of hospitals and also living in the community for much longer? So in that, the statistics you see here are what it was, around 2013, 2014, when we were writing up the Cascades proposal for the funding. Back then, of course, we wanted to understand how environments could be improved. And the truth of the matter, having worked as a clinician in Greece, the UK, and having collaborated with Belgian and French and Spanish colleagues and other colleagues, we know that even the traditional type of care home is a very institutionalized, if I could say, place. So we wanted to find ways of addressing that in addition to the socioeconomic and the very important cost of resourcing. So the Cascades, as I said, there were 4 countries involved, 11 partners. What you see here probably, you can't see them very well, but we had colleagues from Belgium, Flanders in particular. We worked with, Zorgsam, and we worked with Emmaus and Holy Heart from Flanders. In the UK, there were 2 sites. It was the Medway Community Healthcare and the East Kent hospitals. And my university, Canterbury Christ Church University, was the academic partner in the UK, and I was also involved in and overseeing what we would call the work package for the evaluation of the whole model and the whole implementation of the model. The Cascade as a project was aiming pretty much what Marcelo and Jan mentioned earlier. So we were trying to find ways to prolong, to address the prolonged hospital stays, as I said before, so try to keep people at home. What it meant to have good care home provision, which basically was a more humanized, a more sort of friendlier, embedded in the community home, and how can we make sure that this integrated approach is actually going to move us away from a very clinical, I would say, a more sterile way of provision of care home provision, to something which would be a bit more meaningful for people with diagnosis with dementia. We also wanted to involve the people with later or advanced stages of dementia, because that was a much more critical question for everyone. How do we improve and we have sustained care for people live either at their homes or live at a homely environment? One of the things with Cascade was we wanted very much to develop this from the ground, from corroborating, co-producing, as we say in the UK, the care. And how did we do this? We ran co-creation workshops. These workshops took place between 2017 and 2021. The idea was not just to develop some physical environments for the care, but also to develop a model of care that would go beyond the nursing model or the social care model, and it would be much more embedded within the community. So for that reason, we involved people living with dementia, informal carers, family carers, local businessmen and businesswomen. We wanted also to involve community stakeholders that would be probably not very familiar with dementia issues, because we wanted to see how the market, the private sector, can also be involved in the development of those facilities. One of the things that we were doing during this period, and perhaps this is where I would add to the discussion, what Jan and Marcelo said, is we wanted also, that's why universities were involved, we wanted also to gather evidence, robust evidence, because one thing I know for sure in the UK, I don't know if it's happening in Spain, commissioners, those who are actually commissioning services, they want to see evidence, they want to see hard evidence of how this is done. And we want also to demonstrate that this evidence can show the meaningful involvement of people and can also show some benefits in different areas. So economic benefits, obviously social and psychological benefits, but more quality of life issues as well. So by that time, when we were developing the co-creation stage, we ran a number of site visits across the 4 countries. We did literature reviews, as you see, focus groups, interviews. So a number of things were happening in order to build the base of this model. And we did something which is probably something that Jan and Marcelo mentioned, how we shape the model that is coming through consensus, because everyone in the room, we have different agendas. We can't have the single agenda. What we need to do is try to understand which parts of our agendas are actually coming together so we can have a consensus together, which could actually be shared, and this is the model we can all ascribe to. So we're not necessarily going to be very sort of focused with, the things. Apologies if this is more letters, but I will explain the different elements. The Cascade model is what we developed together, and there are fundamentals and components, and some of the things that you see here in the model are exactly what my colleague said earlier. So trust, engagement with the community, making sure that we do embed the model into existing resources, but also creating resources that could be meaningful. And we want also to explore, this is what we wanted to explore, how technology can help in this process. But when we do this, we don't want to abandon our humane contact and our friendly sort of contact with people with dementia, but we want to ensure that the technology is working for us. And Jan gave earlier a very good example how you create technology with the user of the services, with the person who's looking after the person with dementia. So this was very key. And here you can see a little bit more the theoretical, if you like, background of that model. So strengths-based approach, I don't know if it's been used in Spain, but this is a model we use in health and social care in the UK. It's very sort of important, and it is. There is a big debate. Jan mentioned this. Are we talking about person-centered care? Should we be talking about something which is more relation-based care? And this is probably where it's sort of marrying all those concepts or bringing together things. So strengths-based approach, personalized, holistic care that can be much more embedded in the community and not segregated. We also wanted to see safe environments, and I think safe environments are very important, the physical buildings, but also the social environments. How do we make sure that this is no longer us and them, but it is all of us in the classic old way of neighborhoods? I can say this because I'm coming from Greece. I'm sure in Spain it's the same. I grew up in a neighborhood. I grew up in a community where people know each other and they can help each other. And this is something we need to be thinking again in terms of a model. So the other two elements, which is probably important in as much as that we forgot about them when we try to develop the care environment, is how do we live, how people, the residents in the care homes can live life to the full. And the life to the full is not something that is sort of utopian. It is much more about making sure that the care we provide can reverse a bit the models. Like Marcelo mentioned, for example, that we're not thinking of residents as passive recipients of care, but we think of them as human beings like everyone else, and how can we make sure that they have meaningful lives regardless of their diagnosis. And this is part of what is happening in other parts of mental health. Positive public perception is something about raising awareness and also reversing again this sort of very negative view that the demented point that Marcelo mentioned, as opposed to people with dementia, like people with any kind of condition, so normalizing. The cascade was delivered in 4 sites, 2 in Belgium and 2 in the UK, and I'm going to talk more specifically about the Harmonia Village today. But you've already seen the video from Jan about the facilities. I visited these facilities. They're wonderful facilities. What we did with the cascade model, we identified some particular sections of those facilities where we implemented the cascade model. So it was reorganizing but embedding it to the existing sort of provision. Whereas in the UK, there was a lot of investment in developing new facilities. And one of these facilities is the Harmonia Village, which is in Dover, and the other one is the Harmony House, which is in Rochester. The Harmonia Village in Dover, and the same thing with the Harmony House, but Harmonia Village is something I will focus on, is a registered nursing home at the moment. How it was developed, and this I'm going to very, very quickly, hopefully, give you the story of that. It was existing housing that was misused, it wasn't used anymore, and it was something that was already given by the local authority to the hospital, and these buildings were repurposed, they were built again to make sure that we embed all these elements of the model. So you can see here the Harmonia Village site. You can see in the map where it was. It's very important in terms of position that it wasn't very far away, but it was close to a hospital, close to other houses, and we wanted to ensure that It is building, so the first concept was the guest house idea. That's why we started the Zorgsam model, but it moved away to becoming more of a village, which is going to be much more comprehensive and holistic in that approach. So this is the before, this is the during the building, and this is the after. And that's how it looks like. This is the hub. Now, the Harmonia Village has a hub, and then there is a set of 6 detached houses. They are designed in a very sort of friendly way but the whole setup, I think the next slide will give you a sense, keeping it homely. So it's the hub, the housing, but the houses and the hub, as you can see, they have a visual interaction. They're all together. The design was very important. My colleague Elisa probably knows much more about the architecture, but the issue here was that the environment wouldn't be a sterile clinical site, but it would be much more of a village concept, as in the houses having an interaction between them. They were independent, so you feel like you're going home. You're not going to a clinical environment. But then at the same time, they're all interacting, and the hub was at the core of that village is the area where people come together. In the Harmonia Village, we also introduced technology. The technology is bespoke technology to enable the residents to interact freely with the staff, be monitored. A lot of this was intended to be about monitoring of, let's say, prevention of falls, so that was the idea, but also allowing people to move around with independence rather than being stuck. The whole design was awarded the dementia care development, the best dementia care development in Britain. There was a little video, which I won't show, but you can see from my colleagues in the UK an interview where they're explaining the whole building sort of development. But what is important to our discussion today is what is the role of Harmonia Village now? It's a community offer. There are voluntary services. Community stakeholders are engaging in the hub with the residents, so they're all as a community together. There is a cafe and drop-in service. There are also different types of art classes, evening classes, yoga classes, a number of things that are happening. There is a community allotment, and people can go, residents with other people from the Dover area, they can go and sort of work together. And the whole sort of setup as a community offer means that community is no longer isolated from that site. It is part of the site, so it's part of Dover. So if you go to Dover and you say Harmonia Village, they will go, oh yes, like another neighborhood. So they're not thinking of it as a clinical site that is much more segregated. It was also interesting because we wanted to embed another dimension, the dimension of a business. You know this, I'm sure discussions will be made today, but tomorrow, that the resources, the funding is very important for these developments. And where do you find funding? You have to engage with businesses. And a lot of care homes in the UK, here too, are private. They're public services, they're private services. How do we solve the problem? I'm not going to give the answer because it's a very complicated issue. But what we wanted to do in the Harmonia Village, we wanted to bring in stakeholders from businesses. They wanted to look at them and sort of think about together how we develop a number of services, cafe services, training, hotel services, what kind of things the Harmonia Village could allow things to take place. Nursing home, the Harmonia as a nursing home has public funding, is part of the East Kent hospitals in terms of provision, but there are elements of it that need to be funded by external funding, and this is an interesting challenge. Also, we wanted Harmonia Village to have closer interactions with the university, with the researchers, because we wanted to continue collecting data. So the Harmonia Village approach, oh yes, absolutely, timing important. So the Harmonia Village approach, it is a person-centered model. We've learned a lot of things by implementing because it's quite tricky to serve to many masters, if you see what I mean, because you need to ensure that the facility, the Care Quality Commission in the UK is looking for the safeguarding, implementing the policy, making sure this is safeguarded, environment, and it is clinically safe and sound to be offered to people. So that's really important. However, we wanted to also understand how the Harmonia Village approach could introduce this groundbreaking, as we could say, housing design that could actually change the rules. So very much like Jan showed you, Harmonia Village rooms have that kind of homely feeling. So people choose how to set up their home, so they feel it like a home. So they're not necessarily similar, all rooms similar to each other. People have the choices. And although we purposed existing low-value buildings, which is important even financially, and there was some urban degeneration through this, there are some challenges doing that. But I think at the end of the day, the approach of co-designing, co-developing with the users of the services and the families, it was very important to see that the designs were quite true to what people wanted to see. We learned that technology can be integrated, but there are challenges also we faced. Let me show you, because Elisa very kindly reminded me of the time, what are the benefits? Definitely, we achieved better quality of care. And I've got the evidence. I'm not going to show them probably now because I won't have time, but in our discussion, I can reference them. But better quality of care and patient experience was very important. We measured in the evaluation, we compared the experiences of these people with the standard care. So there was a control group. And definitely we saw very significant results in terms of quality of life, in terms of better even management of the dementia aspects, and people feeling meaningfully that they were looked after. Family carers were very enthusiastic about this too. We think that also this integrated approach helped us to understand that nobody can do this alone. We have to do it together. And collaboration of different stakeholders is so key to this. But when I say collaboration, I'm a psychologist. Marcelo is a social worker, and Jan is a nurse. And here we're all sitting together discussing this. I think we need to cross professional barriers. We need to make sure that, we don't sort of isolate ourselves and say, well, I'm a psychiatrist, I'm a psychologist, I don't go to that part of the service. This is no longer possible because integrated care has to be, we're all as a team working together. Nobody has authority over another person, so we need to do that. What is also challenging here is how we continue, how we sustain things. And although we found that the conversion of existing housing stock is cost effective, of course, there are a lot of constraints because the original architecture, in order to comply with the safeguarding policies of the Care Quality Commission, it meant that we had to spend lots of funding to try to make them suitable for this particular use. And that was part of, and also the village, the homely sort of sense of the environment was important too. But that was costly as well because we needed to embed more elements of that and give more flexibility to the design. We don't know how much of this can be addressed without the local businesses. I think local businesses need to be involved. It adds value to what we're doing. In order for us to be able to progress with this type of model of care, we need synergies. We cannot just do this once and then finish. There is a QR here, which is probably, if you scan it, you will go to that website that the Harmonia Village is today. And there is a nice video with the manager of the Harmonia Village at the moment, and he's talking about what it is now. But we think that we've learned a lot of these things and we keep learning. And I think that's the main thing that, you know, one of my messages today would be to do this. I just want to do a plug. I'm not going to talk about the evaluation, but I'm just going to do a plug about evaluation. Because without evidence, I would say this as an academic, without robust evidence of what it is achieving, the care model, we cannot actually go and ask for resources to our local government, to our national government, to the European Union or wherever. So I think it's really important. In the project, I'll just keep this. I just want to say that the evidence that we've got highlighted all these, and they're all positive results, and it's much more important to me that we try to evidence what we do, because whatever we think, we're very like-minded in this room, there will be people outside of this room who will need very, very strong convincing in terms of evidence that this is worth investing in. And I think that will be my last message. Thank you so much.
Ευχαριστώ, Eleni.
Thank you. Παρακαλώ. There we go.
Thank you very much. I think one of the most important points maybe is consider this new development in Dover as a resource also for the community, and thinking not only about this nursing home, but what we can offer in terms of services or activities, and a new value to this territory, which is also somehow how we consider sustainability at all. Marcelo and Jan, you have been working and collaborating for exchange projects for several years. I would like you to share your experience and exchange between Belgium and Italy, and how the same model has been applied and adapted with the active participation of everyone. I think after some questions here, we can also open the micro to the audience, so take profit also of this exchange of the different experience around Europe. But first, I would like that you can exchange and share with us which differences and similarities, and how also being in contact one and each other have been transforming your home environment.
Can't go back.
Yeah, in the green one, I think.
Sorry.
It's going back?
Just keep them.
No, and now the red.
Going back?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you go?
Yes, you continue.
Well, perhaps my experiences on working together and collaboration, for us it started with the EFIT Award 2014, where we got nominated for projects on dementia-friendly communities. And that led to a joint project, out and about with dementia, was on dementia-friendly traveling. And there the experience, or the start from this experience was that both of us in our organization, we traveled with people with dementia, and the fact that we worked one-on-one, one caregiver for one person with dementia, we saw that when you're out of a context of an institution, people have more potential, can do more. So a nursing home reduces and decreases the potentials of a person with dementia. So what I learned from working together is, first, if you want to work together and if you want to have a platform of partners, then you have to share the same goals, the same ideas, the same passion. And in our case, both organizations are value-driven. We start from values, not from some kind of rules, and we share a common goal, and this is namely that relation-oriented care. But what I've also learned, if you work together, you need to get inspired, and And being inspired by good practices, that's the little seed you plant, and is the start of something bigger. So learning from successful real-world examples provide a foundation for change. Good practices serve as a tangible proof for new approaches. But then sharing the same goals, sharing the same ideas, learning from each other by good practices. But it's also important that partners in innovation are complementary. It would be not interesting if I work together with Marcelo if we have the same talents and the same strengths. So in the strength of our organization is how the care is organized and the facilitations we offer. The strength in the context of Marcelo is the integration in the local community. So, and that's for me was very inspiring. How can we get in the local community? How can we work together? And perhaps vice versa. I was a little bit perhaps inspiring, but we need to be complementary also. That's also for me a very important thing. If you work together, share the same goals, have the same passion, the fire, and be complementary.
I cannot add nothing, but I can talk about an example of inspiration and concrete outcome of this cooperation and inspiration. That is this. So returning to where the story I told you began, so that nursing home on top of the hill, inspired by their reality. The year before the pandemic, we began the build of a new unit from zero that began to work on in March 2021. That is a unit for people with dementia with an innovative approach. That is really a child of our being part of a same network. It can be said that that unit has two fathers. That is the two of us. It's a place in which residents with dementia and workers without uniforms, they spend together their day. They prepare lunch and dinner when they want. So if they want to have lunch that day at 12, it's okay. But if the lunch is at 2 p.m., it's okay. Where they wash inside the unit the clothes, they put it into the dry machine or they hang it outside, then they fold it, they put together into the cupboards of the room. Every day goes on through the normal things of life. We do not wake people. It can happen that you enter in the unit at 11:30 and someone is sleeping, someone else is having breakfast, someone is working in pyjama. I mean, normality. Life as it is. And somehow as to go on, we went back. Because the two pictures that you see, the first one is it's been done in the 60s, where the residents of that nursing home were cooperating with the management to do things. There was a strong cooperation with all the neighbors of the nursing home, and the picture below has been made in the last years, and you see a lady living with dementia that is folding his own or maybe some other residents' clothes. So it is use the things, the essential things of our life, simplicity, life as it is, to promote well-being and stimulation. Through this key concept, I will not, some of them I've been talking about before. So it's a place where people simply live together. Of course, different roles, but the roles must be as nuanced as possible. Where the time is the time of the resident and not the time of the organization. Where there is flexibility 100%, it also means that people that work there must have an open mind. Not people that leave their brain in the seat of the car in the parking and go inside to do the shift. They are not good for that. Where the people living there are active, not only permitted. Jan was talking about equality.
Yes.
Who am I to permit you to do something? The involvement is supported and promoted because the context, Jan was talking about how a person change according if they are inside or outside. I underline 100%. The context can do a lot. It's too difficult to say it in English and even in Spanish. And that is a place in which also the well-being of the staff is promoted. Through the sense of belonging, that is also fighting routine and alienation. I don't know which are the words to say it in English and not even in Spanish, but one important outcome is that in that unit there are nearly no absence from work. And I've been director for 16 years, and I can tell you that that data is very important to measure the health of a place.
That's very key.
These are the spaces. So it has been built after an inspirational trip to Holland because we have also a connection with Holland. The rooms are not as a classical modern on the two sides of the corridor, are only on one side. There is a kind of square. The doors of the rooms are similar to the doors of the houses. And this is also very important if you want to go into deep, because I wrote things that you told me, so you better tell them.
No, the discussion about so this small-scale normalized living, one of the critics we always get is, how do you how financially, how can you manage? I will add something also in terms of quality. Now we have done studies in Flanders where residents and family were interviewed about the quality of life of small-scale normalized living. Now we have proof really that it's perceived as being better. But then also the cooking, there was also always the thing about, you cook together with residents, about safety, food safety, how do you manage, just like home. And then also about the price of food. So we did a study where we made a comparison with where you cook with a central kitchen and where you cook together with the residents. And we saw almost no difference. So you see the prices, these prices are from 2000, I guess, 16 or something, so the prices are a little bit up. But we did the same study now because we're planning to build another nursing home. So we have now 3 nursing homes, small-scale normalized living. The next one will also be according to these principles. We have to convince, even though we are working already more than 20 years this way, the new politicians. It's very strange how that we still have to do it. We're doing the same exercise, and we now can even prove that in this model, because you also refer to costs and so for the nursing home you saw in the film is a nursing home for 96 residents. We have 5 nursing homes. We have 2 others in a classical way built and managed. Also 95 and 99, so we can compare, and we work with more than 7 full-time equivalent less in normalized small-scale normalized living. 7 full-time equivalent. In Belgium, that's multiplied by 50,000 euros is a cost saving of 350,000 euros. Okay, so, but we still have to convince. So in terms of financial, we can prove that the quality of life is better, but also that it is financially sustainable. But how do you do it? Therefore, you have to reorganize your work organization. We call it the innovative work organization. It means that everybody who's working with people with dementia are doing the same things. For example, the nurse, it's now, I'm putting it a little bit black-white, but for example, a nurse can also assist by the cooking. Someone from the housekeeping can also assist by giving food, or a caregiver can do the cleaning. So everyone does the same job, but with the experience or the education, and of course a nurse will give the medication because it's the way it should be. But also now, because of shortage of and I think it's also in Spain, I think it's all over the world, we will have problems with staff. We won't find staff. So also the regulation on what staff will do will change. At this moment in Flanders, everyone may give medication to a resident. I don't know how it is here, but we're now allowed. We have to educate our staff, but also volunteers may give medication. So we're now changing, but it's because of shortage. It's because of we need to organize things in another way. But now I'm going a little bit too far. But it's manageable, it's sustainable. Voilà.
Entonces se puede hacer, se puede trabajar así.
Yes, innovation and well, sustainability in all terms needs also to think about what we can do, but to maintain quality of life, and first of all. I would like to open to the audience if there are a couple of questions that you would take profit to ask. Here, Jose Maria.
Sí, sí, ¿se oye? ¿En castellano, en inglés o hay traducción?
Lo que prefieras.
Bueno, ahora habéis abordado el tema de los costes al final, porque Eleni nos ha dicho que el lugar idóneo para la demencia no es el hospital, por supuesto. Yo diría que la residencia o muchas residencias clásicas, nursing homes típicos, tampoco. Y lo que habéis explicado es muy interesante, muy innovador y muy positivo, ¿no? Me habéis hecho pensar en una experiencia que tenemos aquí en nuestro país. De hecho, preguntaba si estaba Carol Michan en la sala, que la he visto antes, que es la responsable del centro, que en realidad están haciendo algo parecido a vosotros. Me viene a la mente una cuestión muy concreta, que quizá tiene poco que ver, pero en el espíritu sí, que es que durante la pandemia se cerraron en el centro todos los trabajadores con los residentes y no murió nadie. trabajando de una forma completamente distinta. Decís además que los costes son iguales o más bajos habéis dicho, de hecho. En el caso de UK estaba claro, pero en la experiencia de Jean y de Marcelo también. A mí me gustaría que insistierais en esta idea, porque en el caso de la experiencia de nuestro país que os comentaba, ellos están trabajando a precios públicos. Están concertados con el sistema público, hay una tarifa pública y trabajan de una forma distinta la operación, el día a día, con precios públicos. Me gustaría que abundarais un poco más en esta cuestión porque siempre genera resistencias. Cuando hay innovación o cuando hay maneras de hacer distintas, el político de turno, el comprador de servicios, puede tener reticencias o puede tener desconfianzas. Y luego está la parte de la inversión. Alguno de los ponentes, ahora no recuerdo cuál, habéis sacado una transparencia en la que decíais que, claro, depende de lo que te encuentres desde el punto de vista arquitectónico y desde el punto de vista de lo que tienes que planear para desarrollar tu modelo, pues el coste puede ser uno o puede ser otro. Por lo tanto, seguro que no hay una respuesta concreta, pero desde el punto de vista de inversión, no solamente de operación, ¿qué nos podríais decir desde el punto de vista económico?
La primera parte de su pregunta es sobre la resistencia al cambiamiento.
La primera parte es, habéis dicho que a pesar de todo el resultado positivo que tenéis, los costes son más bajos de operación en las residencias, en vuestros centros. Habéis dicho específicamente, aquí está, el coste de comida, pero aparte del coste de comida, los costes generales habéis dicho que son más bajos. Yo decía que a veces es un discurso que genera resistencia. A la hora de implementar nuevos modelos, la desconfianza que hay en cuanto al coste de las innovaciones genera resistencia. Por eso decía si podíais abundar en el tema, en cuanto a la operación. Y luego, aparte, en cuanto a la inversión, desde el punto de vista de los requerimientos arquitectónicos, y decía pues, que, por supuesto, va a depender de lo que os encontréis. Pero si se hace de nuevo, una inversión de nuevo, ¿hay algún tipo de requisitos o veis alguna diferencia en términos de costes de inversión?
La segunda parte es difícil para mí.
Yes. You want to start, and maybe I pose the questions. So first, maybe some experience from your side about how this economical model that is making things different, but at the end the costs they seem similar. But maybe which outputs from this innovative model that can add value when we have to balance between the cost and the investment, and what additional values and outcomes are we using to make this change happen. So I think this could be one of the main outputs of this panel. And also the second one, in terms of the investment of the building, if you have also noticed or there are aspects and lessons that we could share about creating a new building that is already working in a small scale, or in the case of Eleni, you have been refurbishment an old place of the city of Dover that was under use. So in terms of investment, if these infrastructures that are already adapted are, is there any significant difference for a traditional way of building, or what learnings we can provide?
¿Puedo intentar de contestar la primera parte?
Yes. Maybe if it's in English, so our panel also can complement the answer.
Okay. So the first thing that I say is that I'm not working in that nursing home for the last 4 years. Okay. I remain into the same organization, but I'm not working, and I cooperate a lot with them for the project of the territory, but I'm not working, so I don't have the daily sensations. But I think that the first important thing is that you explain which is the meaning why you want to do things differently. For instance, we have made all the project about whatever is about the cooking since the first day with the manager of the sector of the local NHS that is looking after the food security. And the first thing that we tell them was to talk about their example and to tell her which was the meaning, what we wanted to try to obtain. We have been able to let her understood, and she has found how to justify inside the laws. Through that strategy, we had no problem. In 4 years, we never had a problem. But the first thing that I can tell you is that the first step to be done is to explain why. Then, about the possible resistance to the changing, I can give you the same answer also about choosing to whom of the staff proposed to go and work there. We have done the same. We have organized meetings with all the workers of the nursing home, telling them you want to do that for that reason. If you are interested, you can bring us a self-candidatura. Okay. Of course, not every person is good to do work that way, because the routine, from my point of view, is very bad, but the routine is protecting you a lot. Okay? So there are some people who didn't choose that work. I don't know how is the situation here, but that is reality. That people is not good, because to work there, you are more alone. You have much more
responsibility,
flexibility, but also responsibility. Not because we, the management, tell them, now it's your business. No, it's the feeling that they have, that they are more responsible. Because they are, for instance, they know that food will not arrive from the kitchen. So not everybody is good for that. But and also having an approach that the resistance to the changing is a natural thing. We evolve like that. And I can only say that, in my opinion, the innovation passes also through someone that say no, we do another way in every field. But to conclude, I think that the most important is to explain to every category of person why, which is the meaning, and what do you want to achieve by doing things differently.
I think Eleni can also
Do you want to give me the clicker?
provide some information, because
Yeah, I'm going to probably agree and slightly disagree with you. The lessons learned from the UK, that's why I keep talking about commissioners and about funding and about, how we do this. the truth of the matter, although I'm very like-minded in terms of how we cook together at home, whatever we do, and I know we want to do it in this way, but in the UK at least, and I'm sure in other countries gradually, there is a lot of emphasis on safeguarding and how you do this safely. I can say as a clinician, person with advanced stages of dementia, they may have a problem, what kind of food they will eat. There are many risks in relation to how you cook, where you go in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. So these models, the inclusive models, they need to be aware of those changes. And the problem is that not everyone in the care home will be aware of all those changes from a clinical perspective. And dementia, as we all know, is a condition that will be, there will be dramatic changes very quickly, for example. So one of the things we did in the cascade model, and I don't want to take up too much time, but I may want to show you, we spent huge amounts of time training the workforce. There was an online training that we developed as part of the project, and we asked everyone to train. And when I say train, not just train on the model of the cascade, but really breaking those myths. I don't know if I can show you some of these things. When we look at the evaluation, this is important, we also wanted to see the staff involved. We wanted to see the changes that were happening. And the staff delivering care had to develop skills. They have to be different. And I have to say, because I've done training with many, many professionals, and at the beginning of the training, people were ambivalent. I know what is dementia, I've learned about dementia. However, all those values, the principles we were talking about, how you do this safely, in terms of safeguarding, how you do this. If I want to be pragmatic, that increases the cost of delivery of the model. Because what happens is you have to train everyone to the model. We did an online version of the training, so everyone would go to online training immediately before they start working in the environment. But there were ongoing needs of training because you can't just do one and finish. So we kept training people. The other thing, of course, in terms of this cost is how you make sure your staff applies all the regulations and the safeguarding. So you have to put all those other layers in terms of checking health and safety, making sure this is risk averse and all of that. And that sometimes contradicts with a model of holistic care. And we need to be honest about it, because when I say to someone, let's cook together, but I know fully well that there are some dangers involved in this that I should be aware of, the environment has to be safe. There are ways of doing it, and we've seen it in Belgium, so I don't have a problem with that. But the problem is when you do engage carers, professionals who are not necessarily equipped to do that, how you prepare them. So I think this is a big, and in terms of the environment, you also need to invest in safety and risk, assessments and all of that. In the UK, I have to say, that took a lot of time. But it was worth it, because here you can see we used the QALYS. QALYS is a method that we can assess the quality of life and how many more years people are gaining through this care. And we saw, compared to the control group, a very, very big rise into this quality of life from an economic perspective. So what it means is that this model is actually has added value, because it allows people to live longer with a condition and we saw improvements in services in terms of how people interact with staff. That finding is purely based on the training, because staff were dementia friendly, so they were able to make huge improvements compared to the traditional care. And I think that's the sort of thing you need to think about. But changing behaviors and attitudes, this is mostly related to professionals, commissioners, the people who are in charge and they have the power of implementing. We saw the cost of the buildings were quite high. I can say that. Harmonia Village and Harmony House, Harmonia Village did, so it was £2.3 million to do that. And that was renovating those existing buildings in the way that we needed to do it. But a lot of that was safeguarding as well. So a lot of that was making it risk safe, or safe as an environment. And I think this is what is adding to the cost and how we repurpose buildings, because I know that Elisa had this kind of question. I don't know what is better. I'm not an architect or a financial person, but we need to think of this environment applying those principles of architecture and care in a way that is cost efficient, because otherwise it's not going to be sustainable, and that's the truth. And we were lucky because we had EU funding to do it, but not every house or set of housing would be like that. So what is the answer? From my point of view, from a health policy point of view, we need, in the mainstream care, to start thinking along those lines. It's not just dementia. We do need to develop care home or care environments that could be risk-proof or whatever, to make sure that the buildings are from the beginning safe enough for everyone, not just, So for example, I can say that I'm in that age, bathroom and the bathroom facilities, not everyone in Greece, I'm a big campaigner of getting rid of the bathtubs and put showers because showers are safer. That is because of experience and because I've worked with many people who have mobility issues and they can't get into a bathtub. It's as simple as that. But we need to do it in everything, in our mainstream housing, not just the dementia facilities. That's my view. Thank you.
Yeah, from my point of view, it's not that training is only when it happens in this kind of nursing homes, but it's about also education and taking off the ageism that we all are suffering in our society. And for example, within the first panel that they were talking that for certain things of accessibility during the careers or training, we really don't have these issues on mind. So when you have to work finally for a project that is delivering care, you need to train, you need to adapt, you need more time to do things correctly, and sometimes it's even not implemented because the team wasn't prepared. So it's tackling the problem from the very beginning and maybe starting from education for young children and teenagers, and also in the careers and the training to start thinking about this, and also the ethics and how to get the community involved from the very beginning. Well, thank you all. I believe that it was a very interesting sharing of knowledge and experiences that can be inspiring. And also thank you to the audience. I hope you have found this module interesting about this integrated approach to sustainability beyond the pure social and healthcare aspects. Germán, te doy la palabra para el cierre de la mesa.
Había preparado un cierre tradicional, pero lo voy a hacer en dos partes. Por una parte, agradecimiento como patrono de la Fundación Unidad y Vida, a las autoridades que nos han acompañado en la inauguración institucional, a la moderadora, Elisa Pozo, a los ponentes por sus inteligentes intervenciones, a los congresistas que nos honran con su presencia y con su interés, a los traductores y personal auxiliar que hacen posible este congreso. Pero quisiera terminarlo con un mensaje optimista. Hemos visto por las intervenciones todo lo que ocurre cuando la enfermedad se ha instalado ya en nuestras vidas. Yo, como miembro de la Fundación, hace ya 15 años que tendría que haberme jubilado, pero lo voy dejando y voy haciendo todo lo que puedo para ayudar a un mejor envejecimiento. Cuando se ha instalado en la vida de las personas, nos damos cuenta, como han dicho, que esto representa, pues, es beautiful, but what about cost? Con soluciones de prevención es un coste bajísimo. Si dedicáramos más tiempo a la prevención y aliviaríamos el enorme coste que supone para la sanidad pública, tanto en España como en cualquier país. Pues me dirijo a los que estamos o habéis entrado, yo ya estoy hace tiempo, en la primavera de la madurez, a los boomers, a la generación X y a todos los que vendrán, que hay posibilidad de corregir todo lo que está pasando por un mal envejecimiento y el coste que ellos supone. Como he dicho antes, un 20 o un 30% de nuestras vidas son genéticas, pero el 70-80% depende de nuestros hábitos saludables que están a nuestro alcance y que cada vez van a desarrollarse más. Yo lo que me gustaría, como miembro también de la Fundación Edad y Vida, que se haga el lema, que se haga un día un congreso, mínima dependencia, y que se haga mínima dependencia y calidad de vida. Muchas gracias a todos por vuestra presencia en este módulo y os deseo que tengáis un feliz congreso para todos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Abajo tenemos preparada la comida y nos vemos aquí a las 3:30. Gracias.